I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and Windows Phone 8 is hitting 3 of the 4 major US carriers. One of those is T-Mobile, and one of their devices is the Nokia Lumia 810. Now, it's a mid-range device, at least when it comes to Windows Phone 8, despite packing a 1.5 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon S4 CPU, a 4.3-inch AMOLED display with Nokia's clear black technology, an 8-megapixel camera, and a 1,800 milliamp hour battery. That said, it's a little pricey at $149.99 or $199.99, depending on which T-Mobile plan you have. Is it worth it? Should you go with the HTC 8X on T-Mobile, or maybe the Lumia 920 on AT&T, or perhaps one of the Android phones that are coming out this holiday season? We'll try to find that out in the review. But first, special thanks to our partners at Best Buy Mobile for giving us devices like this for use in our One Paw Bandit giveaway game, which we give to you on the site at instantwin.phonedog.com. The best thing about Best Buy Mobile, it's a lot of bests in one sentence, but the best thing about them is you'll walk in and they're unbiased. They'll help you choose the best carrier for you, so whether it's T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, or Sprint, or perhaps a prepaid carrier, they'll help you get set up at Best Buy Mobile. Let's take a look. Lumia 810, it's review time. Let's go see if this is the best Windows Phone 8 device out there. If you're a T-Mobile customer, you've got some Windows Phone options as well. Windows Phone 8 is coming to the nation's 4th largest carrier. Actually, this one's available right now in T-Mobile retail stores and online at T-Mobile.com, as is the HTC Windows Phone 8X. This is the Nokia Lumia 810. It's the budget version, if you will, of the Lumia 920 series. And you know what? It's an option for T-Mobile. That said, the specs are pretty decent all around on this device. It's packing a 1.5 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon S4 CPU. It's got 8 gigabytes of internal memory, an 8-megapixel camera on the back with 1080p HD video recording, a 4.3-inch display. It's an AMOLED display with 480 by 800 pixels. So in terms of picture quality, you're not going to get the exact same pixel quality that you would on the Lumia 920. That display is obviously going to be a little bit more vibrant. But that said, the Lumia 810 is going to bring kind of a budget alternative to those that are looking for a device at a reasonable price. That said, you know what? I'm not kind of disappointed with the price point on this device. They're selling it for $149.99 with a 2-year agreement, or $199 out of the gate, depending on which plan you're on after a $50 mail-in rebate. So at that price point, it's $50 more out the door than the Lumia 920 on AT&T. So you can either get something like this for $100, or you can get this for $150. Kind of weird price point, but that said, obviously the Lumia 920 isn't on T-Mobile, so if you're stuck with T-Mobile or you're determined to stay with T-Mobile, this may be the device you have to go with. If you're looking into different carriers, or you're at least open to switching, consider the Lumia 920 just for the price point on AT&T and the fact that it comes in 5 different colors. That said, available now on T-Mobile, packing HSPA Plus 42 megabits per second capabilities, and like I said, Windows Phone 8 out of the gate. I did not mean to rhyme, but that sounded pretty cool, didn't it? Windows Phone 8 out of the gate. Rhyme. I don't know any more rhymes. I'm not very good when it comes to rhyming, but you got your battery cover here, which is removable. That said, a little bit different from the Lumia 920, which is not removable. And I've got to get my hand under this so I can remove it. But you can see this is removable, and we're going to take this off and go Shazam. So you can see behind the scenes here, 8-megapixel camera. You've got a micro SD card slot. And then, of course, you've got your battery as well. 1,800 milliamp hour battery here. It is removable, obviously. That's kind of nice. And you can you have wireless charging depending on which back door you have on your phone, and you can change the colors out thanks to Nokia accessories, which I'm assuming you can get at T-Mobile retail stores, but for sure get through Nokia. So available now, and it's packing Windows Phone 8. So you can see, obviously, if you haven't looked at any of my review videos of Windows Phone 8, it's undergone some pretty significant changes since the Windows Phone 7.5 days. Obviously, you're noticing the live tile size differences, and this is probably one of my favorite things about Windows Phone 8. I've talked about this and actually kind of griped about it since the beginning with Windows Phone 7. I would love to see, or would have loved to have seen, more customization. Now, with Windows Phone 8, I can kind of get that customization that I want. So take a look here, for example. And you can see that I can move this around in 3 different sizes, and obviously depending on the application, the sizes differ. Some applications only have 2 sizes. This one has 3, so I can come through here and move this around and really customize this device and make it my own, as you can see here. So I can move this around like this and kind of change it as I see fit and make it like that. So I can really customize and make the home screen my own. It's still kind of based on that Metro UI look and feel. It's got the tiles, and of course you can swipe over and either see the arrow down here at the bottom, or just swipe right over and access. Now out of the gate you do get some T-Mobile stuff, 411 and more. Out of the box you get app highlights, caller tunes, VIP bonus apps. Then you get some Nokia stuff, ESPN, this is Microsoft, Xbox Games, Cinemagraph, Creative Studio, music and videos, Microsoft, My Account, T-Mobile. Then you get a slew of Nokia applications, and they're actually really useful Nokia applications, as I've shown you in some of the videos. Nokia City Lens now available on Windows Phone 8, Nokia Drive, Nokia Maps, Music, and Transit out of the box. Then you get Microsoft Office, OneNote, Panorama, which are some additional settings to the camera, obviously. Smart Shoot, we'll talk about that more probably in part 2. T-Mobile TV, Wallet, Transfer My Data, and Zynga Games. So if you're a fan of Words with Friends, you can get it on your Lumia 810 out of the box now. Now, design-wise, this kind of exudes an industrial look and feel in comparison to the Lumia 710 that you may remember from T-Mobile. Same kind of button configuration, though, volume rocker on the right side, power button, camera shortcut button, of course, your camera on the back with your Carl Zeiss lens, and then you've got a flash there as well. You got a flash, congratulations. A 3.5mm headphone jack. And my jokes are really bad. I'm convinced my jokes get worse as the week goes on and I get more stressed out. That said, sorry you have to put up with these bad jokes. I guess you don't have to. You can switch and go to another channel. But I really like if you stayed because you guys are my friends. Micro USB charging port here on the back, or on the bottom rather, along with the speakers. Now you've got the typical config when it comes down to the buttons, back, home, and Bing down here at the bottom, and then of course you can press and hold the back button and access your recent applications. So this isn't really multitasking in the true sense of the word, but what you can do is go back, for example, to Nokia Music. I can click there and it'll pick up where I left off and kind of resume the whatever it was I was doing. So using Nokia Music as an example, you can see these gigs, which we'll talk about in just a bit, but some gigs that are nearby the Dallas area. So we'll take a look at messaging now and bring this up and take a look here at threads. Now obviously you still have messenger integration here between online and then of course your text messaging threads. You've got some new things down here, status, which I can change, and then I can go back and see select. I can select the messages as I see fit to mass delete, or I can add a new message and you can see the keyboard. So 4.3-inch AMOLED display with Nokia's clear black technology. It's 480 by 800 pixels. You can see portrait to landscape, nice and fast, typical Windows Phone look and feel here. The keyboard is really unchanged in terms of look. That said, the auto correction has gotten much better on Windows Phone 8. So what we'll say is the Playground Fox is ready for lunch because he is very hungry. So pretty easy to type on, but this is kind of my pet peeve, and if you watch any of my Windows Phone videos, you know this is a pet peeve of mine. Well, first of all, a couple of things. One, you can't keep the signal strength indicator on the display. There's no option to turn that on. It goes away regardless. Nokia, or actually Microsoft rather, says that's for minimalistic purposes. They don't want that information shown. My response, that's great. If you don't want it shown, you can select it not to be shown, or maybe have it out of the box where it's not showing. But that said, there are people like myself that want to see that. And so there at the very least, there'd be a nice option right there in terms of customization to allow a checkbox where it's like display network connectivity, display battery life information. But that's one frustration. The other frustration is take a look at how much dead screen real estate is around the keyboard, because really, when you go from portrait to landscape, you're not really getting that much screen, or not that much additional keyboard space. Keys are a little bit different, but that said, still, I wish they would kind of make it, if they're going to get rid of this network notification stuff, make the keyboard go out all the way to the edges of the display, perhaps get rid of these buttons, and that way you'd have a device with a keyboard that's going to be easy for those that are transitioning from something with a physical QWERTY. You know what? Maybe something like the Droid Pro or the BlackBerry devices, etc. So that's something to keep in mind, but still not a deal breaker by any means, but little things like that where I'm like, you know what, in comparison to iOS, in comparison to Android, there's still a little bit of some room for growth when it comes to this operating system. I hope they'll fix these in future versions of Windows Phone 8. Microsoft, and I hate this phrase, but Microsoft really is doubling down on Windows 8 as a whole. Between Windows 8, Windows Phone 8, they're really working hard on an ecosystem to compete with Android and with iOS. So we'll take a look here. Pinch to zoom, incredibly responsive all around here. And you can see, of course, the rankings page, really fast with little to no lag. And of course, you've got your URL bar here, recent favorites, add to favorites, tabs, and more. And then back to the home screen. So all in all, really fluid performance. That's something I like a lot here. The People Hub, really unchanged, with the exception of a couple of things here. We'll show you those in just a second. Of course, my status is right here, and from there I can post an update, I can check in, I can set my status, I can post an update. Hello. I'm going to say Windows. I got to come up with something creative, guys. How about Winders. Or no, how about, let me think. Ham. You know what, we'll post that to Twitter. Ham on Lumia. Ham for lunch. That sounds better. Ham for lunch. Not that, whatever that word was. Just kidding. I don't know what to say. Hi. Post to Twitter. And you can see that took way longer than it should have, but obviously my Twitter status is going to update, and so I posted that update, and you'll see these kind of circular dots that go across the side of the screen, typical Windows Phone there, and then of course I've got my notifications here where I can see who's responded, what's new, which is basically my Twitter kind of feed, if you will, and then I've got my contacts like Alexa Stevenson here. Not a whole lot of change here, and in comparison to Android and iOS, there's not a whole lot of graphic, I'm trying to think of the right word that I'm looking for here, the right phrase, not a whole lot of graphic aestheticness, I'm trying to think of the right way, aesthetic, it's just not aesthetically friendly, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You look at this and then you look at something like Sense or TouchWiz running atop Android, and it just looks much more fluid to me, it looks much more fleshed out than this. This kind of looks like a DOS screen to me, as opposed to it's just a bunch of text, and that's about it. But you do get history and profile in one space, and that's pretty cool.